Hello guys, I welcome you all for e-learning course of pharmaceutical chemistry for the chapter Radiopharmaceuticals and Contrast Media Part 2. In this session, we will learn about labeling, handling and storage conditions of radiopharmaceuticals and some other points. In earlier session, we had discussed about background of radiopharmaceuticals and contrast media, what is meant by radiopharmaceuticals and various other aspects of it. Let's see its labeling, handling and storage. Before going for this, uh, one question came in my mind: how should radioactive materials be stored? So the answer is, each radioactive material comes from the vendor with storage information, right? Depending on its chemical form, it may need to be stored at room temperature, refrigerated or frozen state. Whatever temperature or storage conditions are required, stock vials of radioactive material must be stored in a secure manner, right? Another question is, what are the most common radiopharmaceuticals used in medicine? Right, we are pharmacy students and we must have this knowledge of what are the most common radiopharmaceuticals used in medicines. The answer is, the majority of radiopharmaceuticals are based on proton deficient isotopes, with technetium 99m being the most commonly used medical isotope. The answer is technetium 99m being most commonly used medical isotope, and therefore nuclear reactors are the prime source of medical radioisotopes. Let's see its labeling, handling and storage. Okay, label all on container. Example: first, what it contain: name of radioisotope. Example: iodine 131. Another thing, strength in microcurie or millicurie per milliliter at given time and date. Third one, radioactive, indicates warning, right? The capital, uh, the letters are given in capital, that means it indicate that warning. Okay, next one is name and percentage of any bactericide added. If not, the statement must be there that the product or injection does not contain any bactericide in it. Okay, if any material which does not contain any kind of bactericide, that times they mention that it does not contain it. Okay, last one, the expiry date and name of manufacturer. It's the most important thing of labeling, right? Expiry date and name of the manufacturer. Now let's see next slide. Handling and storage of radiopharmaceuticals. When handling radioactive materials, always wear the appropriate protective clothing. Wear a lab coat, always wear gloves when handling radioactive substances. Wear shoe covers in rooms where the floor may be contaminated. Keep personal items such as handbags, etc. outside the lab. Okay. Another question is, does plastic stop the radiation? The advantage of plastic like material is that they produce far less secondary radiation than heavier materials like aluminium or lead. These lighter elements can't completely stop space radiation, but they can fragment the incoming radiation particles, greatly reducing the harmful effects. So, it reduces the effect of radiation, right? Great care needs to be taken in handling and storage of radioactive material. Okay, for protecting people and personnel who handle it from the harmful radiation they emit, because the radiations are really very harmful for human beings, right? Another one, certain precautions have to be taken while working with detectors, tracer equipments, radioassay manufacturing or handling of radioactive materials. Another, in order to have protection from hazards of radiation, radioactive materials must be stored in an area not frequently visited by people. Okay, it must be isolated area from people. Okay, where the incoming and outgoing from peoples are restricted. Okay, next one, shielding may be required. Okay, it must be shielded one. Okay, next, thick glass or perspex containers provide sufficient shielding. Next, to protect from gamma rays, in bracket, high percentage penetration power. Okay, gamma rays are having high penetration power. Lead shielding has to be used. Okay, lead shielding is used where the gamma radiations are frequently coming. Okay, next, the storage area must be regularly checked for radioactivity. Next, radioactive liquids. Working area should not get contaminated with radioactive material. If radioactive liquids to be handled, it must be carried in trays with absorbent tissue paper so as to absorb the traces of radioactive material, so that any spillage will get absorbed by the paper so as to avoid the hazardous effects. Rubber gloves have to be used when working with radioactive liquids to avoid direct contact with radioactive material and to avoid the hazardous effect from it. Okay, or to protect our hands from hazardous effects of radiopharmaceuticals. Another one, pipettes. Pipettes operated by mouth should never used again and again. There may be chances of getting liquid inside our body, and consequently, it will lead to hazardous effects. Waste of radioactive materials has to be stored till its activity becomes low, and then only it should be disposed. Precautions. What kind of precautions we had to carry while handling and storage of radioactive substances? First one should not touch the radioactive emitter with hand, but it should be handled by means of forceps. In this slide, I have shown you one picture of a boy handling radioactive substance. Okay, anyone who is directly coming into contact with radioactive substance needs to be handle the radioactive substance with the help of forceps, not directly with hands. Okay, next, areas where radioactive materials are stored should be monitored and tested for radioactivity regularly. We need to check radioactivity regularly. Okay, next, disposal of radioactive material should be carried out with great care. Disposal also done with great care. Next, smoking, eating, and drinking activities should not be handled in laboratory where radioactive material is handled. Okay, smoking and eating, also drinking activity should not done where radioactive material is handled or stored. Okay, because it is having harmful effect. The radiations, if both these means smoke and radiations comes in contact with each other, then it must be hazardous one. Okay, so avoid both. Next, sufficient protective clothing and shielding have to be used while handling radioactive materials. Okay, complete enveloping our body or wrapping our body can protect us from hazardous effects of radiations. Next, strict requirements are prescribed by the Department of Atomic Energy, that is DAE, Department of Atomic Energy, for the establishment of radioactive facility in the hospital or pharmaceutical industries. Okay, guidelines are given by DAE. These include specifications for premises, storage space or storage area, working area, disposal protocol, training of personnel who are handling radioactive substances, periodic checking on contamination or leakage. Okay, the pictorial shows that storage of intermediate waste. Now next, storage. How it should be stored. The radioactive materials have to be stored in suitable labeled containers, covered or shielded by lead bricks, and preferably in a remote corner. Okay, First gel container, second gel containers. All are having gel containers. So in this lecture we had learned about storage and handling of radioactive substances and precautions to be taken while handling the radioactive substances. Thank you.